This that new baby? Hey, yo, you would've caught the new G550? Oh boy. Smell of newness. Fresh mahogany.
Do you think Cassie Ventura was a victim or partner in this?
60 million and a string of lawsuits, Diddy's luxury airplane wasn't only a testament to wealth, it's now in the middle of an appalling scandal. What were the shocking charges that led federal agents to his hangar, and how does the story change when the handcuffs are brought out? Let's see step by step.
The road again. This that new baby? Hey, yo, you would've caught the new G550? Oh boy. Are you crazy? Happy birthday to you. Merry Christmas. My first time in this thing.
It's gonna be better once some stuff is swapped.
Smell of newness. Fresh mahogany.
Yo.
Hey, yo, check it out. For inspirational and motivational uses only, I'm going to take me a nap. I'll see y'all in the A, man. What up, boy?
Good morning. Send nothing but love and positive vibrations your way. Love.
Yo, we on our way to make some historical, beautiful, much-needed soul to the soul capital of the world, ATL. We are on our way. And we bring nothing but love and positive vibes and smash hit motherfucking records. Love is in the building, and I'm taking no shorts. Here's to us, to us, to us, to us. Love, 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 love.
What is a freak off? The freak off essentially was something that Cassie said she learned about through Sean Combs about a year into their relationship. He described it as voyeurism.
He had everything to do with what she was wearing. She said she would buy outfits from sex shops and see which one he wanted her to wear. And then inside the actual hotel rooms, their apartments where the freak-offs took place, she said that Combs was in charge of lighting. It began with candles. It then moved to studio lighting.
They might say she's lying, but that's going to be a little hard to do with that.
Star witness taking the stand, but it was more than that. It was how Cassie took that stand. You could hear a pin drop when those doors opened, and a visibly pregnant Cassie Ventura walking past a man she had not seen in 6.5 years. A man she says violently abused her for a decade. A man the prosecution said trafficked her. Well, she sat across from him, placed her overcoat behind her, turning her body slightly toward the jury, rubbing her pregnant belly throughout her testimony. Diddy, well, he was more fidgety than he was the day before. He was passing notes. He pushed himself away from the defense table and largely sat like that. They never seemed to make eye contact with one another, not even after she was crying about having loved him once and planning and participating in these freak-off sex parties because she feared him and she wanted to make him happy, but feeling worthless, feeling disgusting because she didn't want to do it. Now, with each moment, the testimony became more and more graphic. Her delivery, though, it never changed. It was matter of fact, steady, calm. At times, she was even critical of herself, walking us all through how a 10-album record deal came over a 10-year period of abuse and sexual humiliation.
At first look, Diddy's $60 million private plane is the ultimate status symbol. Sleek custom amenities, the soft sheen of ambient lights, on leather seats, hand-woven rugs, and high-gloss wood paneling. It's built for power maneuvers in the air, a place where business is conducted, vacations begin, and the ultra-elite rest untouchably above them all. But what if that picture was concealing something? That's precisely what recent charges allege. Federal agents say this plane wasn't merely a playground for decadence, but might have also served as a tool for something far more sinister. According to investigators, the plane was allegedly used to bring women to what have been referred to as freak-offs, a term which purportedly describes exclusive high-security soirees with adult themes. The illegality of these parties is not the question, rather it's the manner in which these women purportedly arrived and their purpose at these parties, which has raised serious concerns. The plane's private nature, its capacity to avoid much of the scrutiny commercial flights are subject to, and dispute between Diddy and himself may have permitted this to go on for years. Investigators say they uncovered disturbing patterns in the plane's flight logs, pointing to repeated flights to certain destinations, coinciding with events characterized as private party sources indicated that manifest discrepancies were in the number of passengers listed, and those who actually boarded did not coincide.
But is that what he's doing? Is he running an entertainment and fashion industry, or is he running essentially a criminal organization?
By the way, we have a poll up right now. You can participate in it. Do you think Cassie Ventura was a victim or partner in this? Ready for this? 82%. Well, this doesn't make sense. 82% say yes. I don't know if that's yes to, I think we need clarification. 82% say victim or partner. We'll get a clarification on that.
By the way,
right now.
But that's my answer to that question.
Oh, okay. 82% say victim. 82% say victim. Maybe based on we're reporting on the testimony right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think she is a victim if the allegations are true, but also she is involved in some of the criminal act. I mean, she's getting those prostitutes, right? She's making payments to them, allegedly. She's having them come. So she's involved in some of the alleged criminal activity. And that's an interesting point that wouldn't just apply to her. Other people in his orbit might be some combination of victim and co-conspirator.
But you know what? That video changes everything, because the argument would be, what do you think happens if she says no?
Yeah.
What do you think happens if she says, I'm not in the mood for a freak off tonight. I'm not going to pay the dancer.
I'll be sure he came out saying that Kim Porter death needs to be looked into.
I think that Al being his ex-wife, he have every right knowing about the stuff that came out about Diddy and what he was doing. You understand what he has done in the past, and people have overlooked it. By him coming out and saying that he hoped that he could get her case reopened. There was a guy called John Paperwork, the Paperwork Party. They would put in an open petition to get Kim's case reopened. You understand what I'm saying? So I'll be sure doing this is showing that, you know, he still got love for Quincy's mother. He still want to find out the truth, because allegedly Kim was fine the day before and the day of her death. And then now she found in the bed dead from pneumonia. That just don't sound right, bro. That don't sound right at all.
So you feel the same way about her death being suspect?
I don't think nobody in America think it's nothing suspicious about Kim's death, bro. If you are rich like that, you could, you know, Kim had, I think a net worth of like, what, 12 million a year or something like that? Kim could have called any doctor to come over and look at her. If she was that bad, you know, she could have called an ambulance or something like that. Everything is suspicious about her death, bro. And I don't think an autopsy was done on her. And if it was a half job.
You personally, right? What do you think happened to Kim Porter?
If I say something personal, bro, and my belief, and I put it on to the public, then I might be like.
When mentioned on several occasions, these discrepancies apparently alerted the flights to federal notice. In one case, a manifest allegedly contained only 3 names, but sources familiar with the investigation estimate up to 10 people were spotted boarding the plane that day. Private planes often fly in a bubble of discretion, which is part of their luxury appeal. There's no TSA line, there's no public passenger list, and often no paper trail of who exactly comes and goes. That privacy costs dearly and ironically provides conditions ideal for evading paper trails. It's this shroud of secrecy combined with piecemeal bits of evidence that investigators started to unravel for Diddy, a man whose excesses are fueled by his greater-than-life persona. This isn't so much about what goes on in the air, it's about what this jet signifies. As these charges surface, the once glamorous icon of luxury and success now teeters on the verge of becoming a tangible embodiment of scandal. If true, the notion that this plane fired women with questionable intent or consent is not only embarrassing but career-destroying, as more questions revolve around this jet. One stands out: could the opulent interiors of this jet be hiding years of unimaginable exploitation? This isn't so much a potential crime scene, it's a powerful metaphor for power unrestrained. And while the public readily attaches responsibility to Diddy's name, investigators are hard hardly finished connecting the dots. That's where the raid and the search for answers comes in.
Lucian Grainge has been a very powerful figure for a very long time. Started as with a totally different name, by the way. I don't trust,
you're the one that put me on that rabbit hole.
I don't trust men that change their names, least of all 3 times, okay? A family that goes from Goldstein to G to Grainge doesn't make sense to me. And you have him at the top of the food chain, heavily implied by Little Rod that they were allowing this to go on to get blackmail on certain people, and they just disappear him.
And I mean, it's
the logic here?
It's
no
understandable.
Evidence. There's tapes. Little Rod said there's nothing but tapes.
Tapes of everything.
And that Diddy was taping the people that were coming as well.
Yeah.
When he's mentioned in a Little Rod lawsuit as the fixer, to show you how extreme what he's being accused of is essentially he's the guy you call if you shoot somebody.
Yeah.
He intimates this scene in the lawsuit, Little Rod, where Diddy allegedly and his son allegedly shoot some guy in a bathroom. Little Rod is as this guy is bleeding out, cleaning up, trying to help this guy. He's very close or just outside of the bathroom. Little Rod might have been in the bathroom. And he knows that after Diddy and his son come up and shoot this guy, he's trying to apply pressure to the wound. And they know that you have to call this guy, and he'll get the correct person over at LAPD to come over, and they'll tell a lie. And he says that the next day the press ran a story that there was a drive-by shooting, and he's like, that's not what happened at all. And it made me really think about the book Chaos that so many people on my podcast have listened to and watched. I have listened to, and it's describing a corrupt LAPD with feds that are involved and know how to disappear certain things. And we know that to be factually true based on the Charles Manson murders. So this makes me super uncomfortable.
The scene was straight out of a Hollywood film. Federal agents swarmed into the private hangar. A curtain of tension fell over the space. As they moved with purpose, the target was Diddy's prized $60 million jet, an aircraft that had become a cornerstone of his luxury lifestyle. But this wasn't an inspection for mechanical faults or routine paperwork. The agents arrived armed with search warrants and suspicions, believing the plane was tied to a deeper, more unsettling narrative. What they were looking for became clear almost immediately. Records, evidence, anything that could tie the jet to allegations of transporting women, to exclusive Freakoff gatherings. These events, described by those familiar with the investigation, were reportedly invitational parties involving high-profile guests and steep levels of secrecy. The women at the center of this were said to often be under obligations that blurred the lines of consent, raising alarms about coercion and trafficking. Law enforcement had been piecing this case together for months. Interviews with close contacts, digital surveillance, and tracking the jet's flight patterns had revealed a string of destinations that aligned with whispers about these Freakoffs. Particular interest was drawn to stops at private estates and resorts known for hosting A-list clientele. Investigators reportedly connected the dots, tying these gatherings and the people in attendance back to Diddy's private aircraft. Its flight logs told a curious story: short trips to locations that didn't add up, with passenger counts that fluctuated in ways investigators found suspicious. As agents inspected the jet, claims from insider sources grew louder. Specific flights were allegedly
linked to events where attendees included women flown in from various locations. There was talk of handwritten notes left behind by the crew detailing odd manifests and guest drop-offs. Law enforcement reportedly found corroborating evidence in the form of digital communication between jet staff and external parties involved in organizing these gatherings, from text messages to emails. The narrative investigators were building came into sharper focus. Then came the moment of confrontation, when Diddy was reportedly approached with the federal findings. His reaction was described as initially blank staring in silence. As the weight of the accusations began to settle, sources within law enforcement claimed the confrontation involved mention of the discrepancies in his jet manifest records and repeated connections to flights that ended in luxury resorts known for high-profile guest lists. While some witnesses claim he denied knowledge of any wrongdoing, Diddy's initial lack of response left many speculating whether this was shock defiance or calculated silence. The search didn't just end with the jet. The agents had reportedly already begun identifying a larger network tied to these allegations. A sprawling list of names, organizers, passengers, and associates is said to be emerging, complicating the investigation by the hour. With Diddy now under federal scrutiny, attention has turned to uncovering who else might be caught in this widening web as the allegations mount.
Do you know Sean Combs?
Puff Daddy?
Yeah.
P. Diddy, whatever you call himself these days. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he's part of what's called the Boule. The Boule is a branch of the Illuminati.
Okay.
And it's the black people. I had settlement with Sean, okay? And he belongs to that agenda. That's why he's so famous. They land all the contracts. It's his attorneys. Basically, he would masturbate and tell me what to do with Cassie. I had like 15 encounters, and I heard a lot of business. Because what they would do is Sean talks a lot on the phone and on the TV with speakers and stuff, and I'll be in the...
I've never really quite understood why Diddy's fame has lasted this long, why he is so wealthy, how he's doing all of these extravagant things. Like, genuinely, I've never really quite understood it. And it's just interesting because when three things that seem so crazy end up fact-checking true, he also mentioned in this, we didn't show this clip, but he mentions pink cocaine.
Yeah.
At that time, no one knew what he was talking about. Suddenly, Lil Rod's lawsuit is speaking about that exact same drug that he's saying is a combination of all sorts of drugs like MDMA and cocaine. And again, all of this is allegedly, but he says that essentially that's what Diddy is giving out at these parties that has people that is so high, rather. And then another piece of this, which we didn't show, which he said at that time in terms of saving Trump, was he says that he saw in the Illuminati card deck that they were going to try to assassinate Trump. Again, what year was this that Jonathan Odie was arrested?
That was 2018.
And we can also now confirm that he was indeed a sex slave to Cassie and Diddy because he's testifying at this trial.
The investigation isn't stopping at Diddy. What began as questions about his $60 million jet has spiraled into a much larger probe. Federal agents are now looking at a network and intricate web of associates, employees, and even other celebrities who may have played a role, whether directly or indirectly, in these alleged activities. The jet is no longer the sole focus. It's a gateway leading to deeper layers, and each discovery continues to add weight to the case. Sources close to the investigation claim that certain business associates tied to Diddy's operations may have been involved in facilitating these alleged freak-off flights. This includes individuals responsible for booking travel or managing events. Investigators are reportedly leaning heavily on digital evidence, text messages, emails, and financial documents to reconstruct who made arrangements for the women allegedly transported on these trips. Some of these communications officers say suggest careful planning to ensure privacy and avoid detection, further cementing suspicions of an organized effort behind the scenes. The claims don't stop there. Allegations have surfaced implicating other high-profile figures who may have attended these exclusive gatherings and even used the jet themselves. Specific names have yet to be reported publicly as the investigation remains ongoing, but whispers within the industry suggest this case could ripple far beyond Diddy's inner circle. Frequent patrons of similar parties and beneficiaries of the jet's supposed discretionary travel are now under scrutiny. The question isn't just who knew about these activities. Investigators are asking who helped make them possible. Money, of course, plays a key role in the inquiry. Federal agents are reportedly dissecting financial transactions tied to the jet's operation, from maintenance fees to pilot and crew payments. They are tracing how funds flowed, examining payments issued to individuals allegedly connected to these gatherings, and watching for signs of illegal activity, such as
interview that Tupac is still alive
Yeah.
and he's in Cuba.
Drops it out of nowhere.
And that's been a major conspiracy that Tupac's still alive. I've never looked into that one. I just want to be very clear. But because I'm going back and I'm thinking it's just strange that everything this man said, or too much of what he said, has fact-checked true, which seems so bizarre. That another very bizarre claim he made, that Tupac's alive, he's in Cuba, and he's just like chilling and saying that, it just kind of gets you thinking about
all sorts of other things.
What is reality?
All sorts of other things.
What is reality?
I also, while we're on the Black Boule thing, that Jonathan
Could you describe,
Audi
by
brings
the
up
way,
Black
because when
Boule.
you actually brought up the Black Boule, I had no idea what that was.
I don't know a lot about it, and I think that there's a lot of versions of it. As like, I think that it's like, you know, Vatican conspiracies go all sorts of different directions. The Jew conspiracies go all sorts of directions. And the Black Boule, I think the understanding is that it traces back to like the black nobility and one of the royal families. And LeBron James does have a gigantic back tattoo of the crest, like the symbol itself of the Black Boule. Very literally the exact image. Or it's his chest, I think. It's
like, I think it's on his chest. I think I saw that in your video. And
kind of weird.
So that's interesting that he's saying he's a member of this, especially as we're now learning so much about what took place at these Diddy parties. And I want to be clear here. We can't really discuss Cassie's testimony because I try to keep this show family friendly, and I just
There's
can't.
not a single piece of that is.
That is right. I can't read anything about these transcripts. Suffice it to say, they were into just the most debased, disgusting sexual stuff that you could possibly imagine. She was very clear that she was high on drugs throughout a lot of it. I completely believe that, based on what we've learned from Little Rod and learned from other people, including this guy, Jonathan Odie, that was definitively one component of this. But it's interesting that we're talking about the idea of these people selling out the Black community on behalf of somebody else, because there are some dogs that are not barking. That had me very concerned in this case, because I read through Little Rod's lawsuit and I very much expected that the Universal execs would be brought into this, into the hearing at the very least to testify. And also the biggest person missing here is Christina Carrano.
Unregistered transfers or unusual expenditure patterns tied to the flights. Investigators believe that if this network of alleged exploitation exists, it left behind a trail of evidence in the form of bank statements and logistical correspondence. To date, sources claim that more than a dozen people are under investigation, though that number is expected to grow. Their potential roles range from helping coordinate the flights to facilitating the events that allegedly turned this jet into more than just a mode of transportation. What's emerging isn't just a story about one celebrity. It appears to be pulling back the curtain on a larger culture that thrives in the fog of wealth, fame, and unregulated privacy. An industry insider speaking anonymously described the issue bluntly: when these guys fly private, they act like the rules don't exist, nobody's looking at them, so they do whatever they want. If true, Diddy's case could bring a rare spotlight to these hidden corners of the entertainment world. How far will that spotlight reach? And if others are implicated, how many might fall with him? While these details continue to unfold, Diddy's time in custody is already sparking new controversies of its own, from the gilded confines of his $60 million jet to the cold, unforgiving walls of a jail cell. The shift in Diddy's circumstances could not be more stark. Arrested amidst allegations that have shaken both